Welcome to the second edition of Salmoscope. This time we're going to look at a very unique and adaptable caddis pattern and a wonderful New Zealand river. The Ymak Caddis was developed in 2011. I remember distinctly the Rugby World Cup was on and it was September, and for the reason there were a lot of visitors around, I had some early pre-season guiding on. At the time I was fishing the Waimakariri river a lot and it was slightly discoloured, as it often is during spring. So I was looking for a pattern, a nymph pattern especially, that fish could see easily in this discoloured water. For that reason, the Ymak Caddis functioned really well. With its yellow segmented body, the green topping, the glister black at the front and the soft hackle, all combined to work really well. Obviously we call the Waimakariri the Waimac for short, and that's how the name came about, the Ymak Caddis. And since then I've used it in a variety of river situations, spring creeks, big freestone rivers, backcountry rivers, you name it. And it's worked really well across the board in the South Island and also other places in the world. As you can see, the key ingredient for this fly is this lead core line. There are several brands available. Here's the one I like a lot. You can see when you buy the lead core line, it comes in various colour stratas. And what I do is card each various colour up, because this material is not limited to the Ymak Caddis. You can use it for a lot of different other patterns and for weighting general nymphs. So a very, very handy material here. Another particular aspect of this coloured material is I found out a few years later it's UV, and I wonder if that isn't a reason why it works particularly well in discoloured water. Once you've purchased the lead core line, the other materials are easy to find and go a long way. We start off by using a strong wire caddis hook. Choose a model that suits you the best. I'm using black pre-bar monocord in this case. You can choose whatever you like. Now we're going to tie in the yellow lead core line along the side of the hook, and importantly we're going to tie it right back around the curve and then wind it forward to give a nice caddis look. You can see that form here. The neat thing is here too, this adds the weight to the fly, so you have a really good combined aspect with this material. When you have tied the segmented body, tie off the lead core line and trim the excess. The next stage is we get a green felt pen and apply it to the top of the lead core line. After this we put a small smear of super glue along the top, and this permeates in and gives a fantastic segmented look, very, very realistic to the caddis. You can also use UV resin if you like. Here's an example tied using UV resin. You'll notice it's very shiny. My preference, however, is super glue. It gives a more segmented look. If you're going to use super glue, it pays to batch tie like this and allow the super glue to dry and then continue on the next sequence. Here's some of my favourite product on this fly. I like to use medium super glue especially and a thin UV resin. Notice here the similarity the Ymak Caddis body has to these free-living green caddis. Continuing on, we add some black glister dubbing to form the front of the fly. Very easy. Now we get a grey partridge soft hackle and cut a V in it like so. Then we tie this on top firmly. And then trim off the end. A few turns around to finish the fly off and whip finish. Then add some head cement. You can also fully hackle this fly if you want, but this fly is all about catching fish, not to look too pretty. As with most trout flies, I'm a firm believer of adaptation and variation, and as many you can do upon the Ymak Caddis. I'm going to show you a few here, but please do experiment yourself. The first variation is to put a tungsten bead at the front of the nymph. This of course gives a better sink time to the nymph if you want to fish deeper water. For the most part, I fish the Ymak Caddis like in the original form, that is just weighted. I fish it as a dropper behind a heavy tungsten bead or just by itself in shallow water. When tied on a long shank hook such as a size 10, 8 or 6 with a more lush hackle, this nymph functions really well as a swinging nymph, a nymph to fish across and down on the swing.
Just had one.
The form and coloration can also be transferred to streamers. Here's a spay version of the Waimac Caddis. This is a demonstration on how to add a gill effect to the Ymak Caddis by weaving in ostrich herl. It's a very simple process and gives a very lifelike look to the fly. Also some animation. Another variation using the same weave is to tie in some mylar, pearlescent mylar, and then weave this forward. This gives a very shiny, semi-translucent look, the look that's often found on free-living green caddis. You can apply the felt pen over it, and then you can put super glue over or UV resin, which will really accentuate the look and the sheen here. And please don't be limited by the colour combination I've shown you. As you can see here, you can use the white coloured Suffix lead core line and vary wing case colours. The variations are endless. Choose whatever you like to do. This is a real fun form to experiment and fish with. In the early 70s, I well remember Christchurch's well-known angler and fly tyer, Al Creedon, saying to me that often he goes to the Waimakariri and catches some okay fish there at times. I was mystified. In the mid-70s, I was still quite new to fly fishing and didn't really understand how people could catch fish on fly in such a big river. Anyway, into the 90s, my brother Peter and I started to spend some time in the Waimac, being handy to Christchurch, and found out that in fact it was a really good fishery. The Waimakariri is a really braided, large river that flows between 40 and 100 cumecs. That's particularly when it's fishable. It does flood right up into thousands of cumecs, and at times can go quite low flow. Obviously they're the best times to fish it. Being really vast and not so biodiverse, because the river comes and goes a lot and floods a lot, there's not a lot of insects or a lot of trout food out there. The population of fish is reasonably small. That said, it's good enough. Fish size tends to be on the smaller size, on average between 1 and 2, 3 pounds. But over the years we've frequently had fish in the 3 to 7 pound region. There's both rainbows and browns, which makes it really interesting. Anyway, like a lot of these rivers, once you decode it, you can have really good experiences out there. And over the years, I've used it a lot for teaching people, all manner of different people. It's a great place to show people casting skills, stream craft skills, how to rig up skills, how to cover water skills. So a super place for that, and as well, I also guide out there at times. It can be that good a fishery. So the Waimac is really important to me as a fishery, and I've gotten to know it really well. So if you're in the Canterbury region, come and visit the Waimakariri and try it out. Rainbow trout, brown trout, occasionally king salmon runs. A great fishery, just pick your right time. Also, great place for testing fly patterns. It's been a huge part of my trout fly evolution. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and the like button, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks again.